music. This that first react music. They can't hold me back. I'm feeling good cause I'm black music. Can't nobody touch this. My flow, I can't rush this. Put them on silence when I'm talking. You should hush, bitch. I am from the heavy base. My bro called a heavy case. Got a couple.
Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Cigar Sundays Live, where we define, examine, and analyze words, sayings, and phrases used in American culture. And tonight, we will be smoking on the word courtesy. So grab your thinking caps and get ready to smoke on words with two big nerds, with myself, DBCHEFTV, and the God, Ali Dawu L, at BK Soul Farm, and we are the Cigarden Panel. Peace, God.
Peace, God. What you dealing with?
Another beautiful Sunday. I never get tired of saying it because every time we see it, it's magic.
It don't stop being true, right?
It never stops being true.
As long as you can say it.
That's right. That's the truth about it. That's the truth about it, God, for real. Thankful for another Sunday as well. Been very, very busy this week, doing things, trying to support my interests, further the DBCHEFTV brand network and everything. And looking forward to this show. And next week, doing some more positive and productive things. How you feeling, God?
I'm good, brother. Like I got a new set of livestock that came in that I'm rearing, so that's a little tiring. It's been some rainy days, so that makes the work a little bit worse for me a little bit. But besides that, it's been regular, right? Like farming, bro. Like it's just a constant. What do I need to do? How do I need to improve? Can I chill right now? Do I got some time to relax and take a nap before I got to go do something else?
I know that's right. We ain't ashamed of taking them naps now.
Hell nah.
It's
just been real productive, God.
Absolutely. That's what we always striving for. Productivity. If you ain't producing, then you're useless.
Kind of, sort of.
Some would say. Some would say. But I don't know. Is that the courteous thing to say? We're gonna find out tonight. Who knows? But y'all, we smoking on the word courtesy. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to like and share this video. Also subscribe to the channel so when we go live, you never miss an episode. And we appreciate y'all for liking and sharing and commenting. Mm-hmm. Don't forget the links in the description too. We got the merch. You see the God got on that fly ass hoodie. Y'all know we speak that lingo. You know what I'm saying? We got something for the brims.
Ooh, that joint is nice. Always.
Some for you to put on your, to cover the domes, the craniums. We got tees and all that stuff. We got hoodies, man. Go ahead and check out them links in the description. We really appreciate y'all when y'all do that. We don't ask for Cash App. We actually have merch. So if y'all want to go and support, we appreciate that, y'all. But
real support, right?
Yeah, real support. We offer products.
We make things.
We make things. So, and we're not a church, so we don't really ask for donations. Not knocking the church. That's what they do. That's their thing. But I'm being courteous right now. Okay. But y'all, we're gonna go ahead and get into this evening's word. And tonight, y'all, we will be smoking on the word courtesy. And if you're new, what we do here is we have 3 questions that we form around our word. And the first thing we do is answer the first question. And then we go and define the word. We use the Merriam-Webster dictionary to get the definition, and then we come back and we answer the remaining questions, and then we also have uh, a little flavor bomb in there for you where we talk about some of today's trending topics or current events or social media things, or break up the monotony a little bit, give your brain a rest for a second with the stuff that you probably already be paying attention to anyway, and not this. But but anyway, we talking about courtesy, and our first question of the evening is, what do you think of when you hear the word courtesy? Our second question of the evening will be, what things would change if people were socially obligated to practice courtesy? I probably should have put in there, what things do you think? But it's okay. What things would change if people were socially obligated to practice courtesy? Let us know in the comment section. And our third question of the evening, is courtesy a privilege or a right? And what role does it play in conflict resolution? Is courtesy a privilege or a right? And what role does it play in conflict resolution? So before we get into the definition of courtesy, we're going to go to the God, Ali Dawu El, the BK Soul Farm. For our first question, what do you think of when you hear the word courtesy?
Peace, God. Yo,
Peace.
great word for the week. Great questions. And they actually, I mean, it's like perfect for what I got going on in my life right now, at least for what I think courtesy means, right? So what I wrote down is, when I think about courtesy, um, in my mind, I think about the word respect. I think about first impressions. I think about first interactions, right? Meaning, you know how I say, like, I think people have the right to let you down, right? That means that I'm not being an asshole to anybody first, right? I'm doing, quote unquote, the right thing. I'm being a pleasant citizen. So to me, that is courtesy. I'm showing respect first. I'm offering respect first. I'm offering my hand first. And if you take the opportunity to grab it and shake it, or grab it and pull me and throw me over here, or stab me or hurt me with it, or whatever you do with it, like that's your thing. But that's what I think about. I think about the respect. I think about first impressions, right? Because for whatever reason, I mean, I kind of get it, but I don't like it. You know, we see with our eyes, and what we see um is the first impression, right? But kind of not really, right? Because a whole lot of processes happens for your eyes to work and for your brain to even make that assessment in the first place. So it's kind of not really the first impression. Is whatever, right? But I think that we should give people time, right? And like, take me for instance, right? Somebody told me recently, one of my customers told me that we was at work, and I was in a meeting, and I had my bottoms in, and he pulled me into an office to talk to one of our colleagues, and that was my first interaction with this person. And it was supposed to be quick, but that conversation turned into a 2 hour business discussion, talking about policy and the future and whatnot. This dude tells me that, yo, it's interesting, man. I was so happy because you had your bottom piece in, and he just could not stop talking to you, right? Like, he had his first impression of you. Um, and he said he had the same of me before too, right? Because he said that they was having a conversation, And the question was, if they won the lottery, what would he do? And he said a bunch of smart people stuff, investments and savings and entrepreneurial stuff. Dude was like, "Oh man, I didn't expect that. I thought you would have said you would have bought a car or something." Now, when I looked at the brother, I said, "You see, now I'm looking at you, and I can tell that you and I look like two different type of brothers, right? If one of us was to fit the stereotype of looking like they will go buy a car with some random money, it might be me versus you all suited and booted. But to this guy, he sees us both as the same, right? He don't see us no different. So I'm like, that first impression of my skin color, of our skin color, is not right, because the reality is we all got the same access to the building, right? We all work in the same location, so we are all intelligent enough to get in here and operate and take care of our families and the country together, right? So the impression that we should probably go with is the successfulness of our ability to complete the mission. But when we go with just what we see instead of what a person actually does for you, right? That's why I say the first interaction, right? Because that's when you actually get past how you look and how you smell. It's like, all right, so how was that conversation? How was that bill? Is this person useful or not? Right. That's what I think about. I think about respect. I think about first impressions. I think about first interactions. I think that because to say politeness, I think it's too light, and it's not it's not charging enough, right? Because this is me, and I'm me, God, I'm idealistic. You know what I'm saying? I'm I'm very hopeful for a lot of things. So this is how I approach things, right? This is how I want courtesy. I'm hoping courtesy means what I'm saying. I'm hoping I'm hoping it's defined.
Right.
Cause I'm gonna be crushed. I'll be like,
If it's not something kind and polite and compassionate and considerate and all of those
uh,
wonderful
right?
things that would allow a person, like you said, to not take your physical appearance as the first judgment, or to just um, attach a stereotype
Yeah.
directly to it. Um, Man, been wearing this black skin a long
A
time.
long time, God.
In this country. So like, woo.
uh, Kind of got to get
Woo.
over it, buddy.
Yeah, real quick. We're gonna we're gonna revisit that particular thing right there. We're gonna revisit that tonight. But
Mhm.
um, but what do I think of y'all just joining us? We are answering our first question this evening, smoking on the word courtesy. What do you think of when you hear the word courtesy? Um, Man, home training. I know it's like so like vague, or it could be general, but it was a thing that we used to get growing up when discipline was a part of um a rearing, or or a upbringing. Not that discipline isn't anymore, but there's so many loose things now where it's like be yourself, but without any consideration for anybody else. So like the home training part of it, like when I hear courtesy, like courteous, holding the door open, like things come to mind. Um, Holding the door open for somebody, giving your seat up to an elderly person. When I come in your house as a guest in your house, even if you invite me in, um, I ask, do you want me to take off my shoes? Whether you said it or not. I don't just say because, well, everybody else got their shoes on, so I ain't think that, you know. I ask to use your bathroom. I don't just think just because I'm in there, I can just go to your bathroom. You know, I don't just think just because I'm at your house and we grilling that I could just go in your refrigerator without asking. So a lot of the when I think of courtesy, it's like my actions towards, and I think you said this earlier too, it's my actions first towards other people, or situations where I consider them first. It may not be like an in-depth consideration, you know, like a full analytical and, you know, pros and cons weighed, but it's just like, this seems like the right thing to be doing right now.
Every little bit of consideration is a lot of consideration.
You know, so that's what comes to mind when I hear the word courtesy. And then it's just so many other, like, it's just so many other situations where you could say, you know, courtesy could be implemented into certain things. But we're gonna get into that throughout the show tonight. But it is, to me, like, it's just like what you doing initially, how you treat others initially, initial response.
Yeah, I like home training, guy, because that fits perfectly with respect, right? That's first impressions, because you know you taught lessons in the house to how you're supposed to lead a house, and you're supposed to reflect the family, or reflect yourself, or whatever, right? How you're supposed to treat people, how you're supposed to act, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
home training. Yeah, I like home training.
yeah, because I don't think that that's a thing anymore. You know, like not broad scale, like not like it was where, you know, I could be at my friend's house and we could go over to another friend's house and we both had the same type of uh, home training.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we both are asking the same questions like at the same time. It's not really like oh, I'm just going in the refrigerator because I've been over here before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I could do that. You know, and it's like, okay, well, you may have that ability, but I haven't got that yet. You know, so
Correct.
because like what I see is now is more so like, oh, well, he just went in there and grabbed something and you ain't say nothing. But it's like that person had got permission because we already have a history of doing this. So you thinking that you can just come up in here and just do that because you seen him do it. That's not, you know, it's nothing courteous about that. If the word courteous, if I think that it means courtesy, if I think it means what it's supposed to.
I'm thinking it has to have something to do with consideration, because that whole, what you just said, that person was, well, he just did it. There was a total lack of consideration for their relationship. You know what they might have had to go through to reach that level of comfort,
Right.
with each other, right? Or you know what I'm saying, like that's a total lack of consideration.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Absolutely. So, y'all, we just answered our first question. What do you think of when you hear the word courtesy? Let us know in the comment section down below what you think of when you hear the word courtesy. We are interested to know, and we do respond to all of the comments. So, what we are going to do here now is we're going to go ahead and jump into this evening's definition. So we have the word courtesy, y'all. Make sure to like and share the video. Also subscribe to the channel. We appreciate y'all. We are smoking on the word courtesy this evening, and we have courtesy as a noun. 1A, behavior marked by polished manners or respect for others. Courteous behavior. 1B, a courteous and respectful act or expression. 2, general allowance despite facts, indulgence. 2B, consideration, cooperation, and generosity in providing something such as a gift or privilege. Also, agency means used chiefly in the phrases through the courtesy of or by courtesy of, or sometimes simply courtesy of. Then we have courtesy as an adjective, and it's granted, provided, or performed as a courtesy or by way of courtesy. Okay, so we have behavior marked by polished manners or respect for others. Courteous behavior.
Yeah, nah, this I think we were spot on. We were spot on. Like I'm tripping on indulgence sounds like a lot like belief. Like, I guess I never. This is my first time. But this is my first time seeing it in the dictionary. I guess, right? Looking at number 2, and a general allowance despite facts. I'm like, damn, okay.
Let's see what indulgence is. The act of indulging in something. An indulgent act, an extension of time for payment or performance granted as favor. The act of indulging, the state of being indulgent, remission of part or all of temporal or especially purgatorial punishment that according to Roman Catholicism is due for sins whose eternal punishment has been remitted and whose guilt has been pardoned. Who could do that? Is that like a presidential pardon and shit? You know, or just somebody saying I'm sorry and then you cool with it, you forgive them, you know? Is that an indulgence? Oh no. So we're gonna take it back to courtesy though.
Yeah.
So that's how they, I don't know which one of those particularly, but it says a general allowance despite facts. So I guess when I was saying like, you know, what to do right now, when we both were saying what we think of, how we treat the situation or person in that particular moment.
It's indulgence, right? Yeah.
Right, without facts. Because
that's the courtesy.
That's the courtesy. Because you know, like an example, like seeing somebody sitting on seeing an elderly person or a disabled person get on public transportation if you ride a train, a bus, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know the extent of their disability, or you don't know if they just got a lot of gray hairs or they really that old.
That's true.
You know, but you still may just offer your seat, and they may look at you and be like, oh, I'm good, man. I just got gray. I had this gray for a long time, you know. It's genetic. So to me, that would be like despite the facts, something very simple, you know, to understand. Like that would be despite the facts. You know, if a person has a cane or a walker or something, they disabled.
Yeah,
just like
they deserve it. Yeah.
You know, and you just like, you know what, regardless of how
Yeah.
far they came today or whatever, you know what, I'm going to give my seat up regardless. I don't care if they don't even want it. If they just like, you know what, now I need to stand, you know, I'm still going to give it up.
Yeah, no,
and that's despite the facts, right?
because this would be HIPAA violations and all that crap. Yeah, you don't need to know all that.
Right. Right. Like I'm not your primary care physician. You know, none of the
Nah.
treatment specialists. So now let's take
But
courtesy
hold,
over to
now hold on, go back real quick, because
okay.
in the definition was it 2B? You see,
Okay.
consideration is right there in the definition.
Consideration,
Co-op,
cooperation.
cooperation, right? Like it's right there in the definition. That means something,
Right.
I think.
No, it does. It does because what were we talking about going over to a person's home,
Yeah.
right? And you have a friend, you go over with a friend and they get up and they go get something out of the person's refrigerator.
Yeah.
And then you go do the same thing, but then you get corrected. Somebody says to you, one of the people that own the home or own the refrigerator, the owners of the refrigerator, says to you, like, what are you doing? Oh, well, he or she went and did that, so I thought that it was cool that I could just go grab a bed. Like, but you didn't think to ask. There was no consideration given.
No.
There was no cooperation in respecting each other's space, each other's private and personal space.
Yeah, you're practicing bad friendship, right? That's what you're doing, right? Because because you're messing up the cooperation. Like we have a good thing going on here. We hanging out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We got a good thing going on.
Right. And the
And that
generosity, because you may not have bought those whatever you going in the ice box to grab.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you might want to ask to go grab one of those since you didn't put in on this, man. Definitely.
Nah, that's true.
Definitely. It's not just go grab it because, oh, well, he had one, so I figured I could go grab one too. Yeah. Your math is all the way wrong, buddy.
Nah, it seemed like a little thing, right? Oh, we all here, we all at a party, we all at a cookout, we all vibing or whatever. But nah, like when you ask somebody house, right? That's their house. It's only right.
That's the way I was taught.
That's the way I was taught.
Yeah, I don't know if people still practice that
Yeah.
anymore socially. I don't know if, I mean, and I know people don't because I've seen it happen. I've seen people get checked and get an attitude.
Correct. More times than not.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen people get checked and get an attitude when they get confronted like, oh, you just helped yourself? Well, everybody else was helping themselves. I figured what's the problem? Why you ain't, why ain't know I needed to ask? Then they like, have a problem with the environment because now they feeling like that they have to be courteous. They have to exercise some courtesy in the environment. And I guess they thought it was just a lax ass environment to everybody doing what they want.
That's if they mature enough to recognize that they gotta practice courtesy now, right? They could maintain that immaturity and be asked to leave.
That part, right?
Right. Because that's what you said was now they get mad because now they get confronted. And I thought about that word when you said that, right? It's like because that's what it would feel like to them is they're being confronted. Somebody's pushing them, right? And the reality is like, nah, son, you're
being questioned. I mean, if and that's the problem. Like
you did something flaw, and they're like, yo, shine the light on that shit.
That's it. That's the problem too. Like I know, like when we was talking about the P Diddy thing, and they was like disgraced, and it's like, okay, yeah, we got triggered by disgrace, but it's not in the same capacity of being confronted, you know, or questioned, or being addressed.
Correct.
You know, it's like no matter which word is used, the person on the receiving end is in a position where they feel entitled, and that they shouldn't be questioned or addressed or
Correct.
confronted.
Correct.
You know, so it's almost like no matter how you present it, you know, they're gonna have a problem with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why to see the word consideration in the definition is dope. See the word cooperation is dope, right? Because they shouldn't have a problem with. They shouldn't have did it in the first place. Like they should have they should have asked. But since they didn't ask, when they was like, "Yo," they should have just apologized,
That would have been cool.
right? And be like, I apologize going forward. You know what I mean? I won't do that again,
Simply because I'm in your space.
right? And nobody got to drag it, right? Like
Nobody
like
got dragged.
like person A said they part, person B received it and said acknowledged. Person A should just let that shit go and be like, all right, back to the party.
That's it. You know, unless they friend who they came with is like, yeah, nigga, you ain't me. You know what I'm saying? You don't got privileges like that.
That's a whole nother conversation.
You know, a good friend gotta rub it in a little.
Yeah. Yeah, but that ain't no beef though. That's just
That's
that's
not beef. That's not beef. That's just to let them get a little sweat on their brow for a little bit, just to be like, all right, man, all right, leave me alone, man.
exactly.
That's love. Little love tap.
Like nobody got to get kicked out now, right?
Nah. Matter of fact, we sending them to get all the beds all night, just so he don't feel. We send them to the ice box all night. You got ice box duty, just to
go to the refrigerator whenever you want.
whenever you want.
That's how it will work. That's how it should work, and that's how it does work, right? In a normal environment, when you really around in a safe place, when there's nobody trying to out ego you.
Yeah. It's definitely, and it should never be about ego. It's just almost like, look, everybody here this is where we at on this level right here, where if we was in this person's home, we gonna conduct ourselves the same way. So this may be your first time even hanging around us, you know, and that's not how we conduct ourselves as a group collectively. So that's where I was talking about, like, sometimes people will bring their bad habits to new environments, and they don't realize that it's a bad habit, or they don't realize that, I ain't gonna call it a bad habit, I'm gonna say they don't realize that their habits or their ways aren't accepted or appropriate in that environment. You know, you may have other places where they may have other places where they go where that behavior is acceptable.
Correct.
You know, but in our theoretical, like, that's not one of them environments. So they gotta get their attitude together. Check out episode 68 of Cigar Sundays live. Attitude now streaming on Cigar Sundays on YouTube. And we are smoking on courtesy, y'all, and defining the word courtesy. Let's go over to the thesaurus right now so we can see the synonyms of courtesy. As in, and it is given to us three different ways: as in kindness, as in gesture, and also as in attentiveness.
That's interesting.
So we have courtesy as in kindness, an act of kind assistance. And then they give us kindness, service, grace, privilege, indulgence, mercy, benevolence, blessing, favor, benefit, advantage, waiver, turn, boon, dispensation, liberty, license, godsend, and mana.
Liberty is definitely a courtesy, guy.
It is. Because when it expires, your ass better be at muster.
Better be. You better
Or somebody gonna have some
be.
explaining, and there's gonna be some consequences and some repercussions.
Because the explaining not even gonna matter.
No. Consequence gonna happen. Of the negative sort.
Oh man, liberty is a courtesy. That's funny. I used to always hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it wasn't like liberty wasn't always because you could withhold liberty. You know, that was people could have liberty withheld.
Yeah.
Definitely. So let's check out as in courtesy, as in gesture. An act or utterance that is a customary show of good manners. Wow. Gesture, manners, politeness, attention, civility, etiquette, formality, kindness, ceremony, ritual, greetings, rules, amenity, pleasantry, right, honors, decorum, form, respects, regards, grace, observance, favor, proprieties, kindliness, addresses, protocol, mores, and devours. Devours.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I do like the act of utterance of customary show of good manners, because when we were talking about what we thought of when we first hit a word, you know, these were words that we saw the consideration in the definition. And then now we're beginning to see these other words manifest themselves, like politeness, civility, kindness, etiquette. You know, when we was talking about home training.
Yeah.
You know, that was a form of etiquette.
Yeah.
And these things were wrapped into it, you know, the politeness.
Even the first interactions, right? And the first impressions, like is all wrapped into this.
Right. And none of this is stereotype. It's something, right?
It says just do it, actually.
It says just do it, you know, but stereotypes have become rituals.
Yeah, and a formality.
Yeah. So, you know, these things can morph into negative things. You know, and we see
it definitely becomes
that.
Protocol. Yep. And I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad we went this way, because I was looking at those words and I'm like, man, I like it, but I don't like it, because it can go negative, and it's like, what do you do then, right? You can't, and I guess that's the thing, right? You know, we got to have consideration, because you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right.
Yeah, it's very easy to do that, though.
Right. You gotta remember there's a baby. You know what I'm saying? Keep the baby. Throw the bathwater out, keep the baby. So I'm glad we switched it like that, because it could take a negative, you know, direction.
Yeah. It's like that thing that you were saying, like when you were giving the example of how the guy was like, posed the question, what would you do if you hit the lottery?
Yeah.
And then he goes off of this, you know, well, based on how one person is dressed, that based on their physical presentation, would that be accurate?
Yeah, because it wasn't his dress, it was definitely his skin color.
Okay, so based on their physical presentation, all right, you know, to automatically assume that mentally the first thing you would want to do is to buy a depreciating asset, you know, or buy something that's not even really an asset unless you put it to work for you, you know, buy a
Correct.
toy. So to think that, that shows how um that shows how, when you said throwing away the baby the bathwater, that shows how the baby can get thrown away real quick
Real quick.
if there isn't something, if there isn't a more of a point and more um dialogue that is desired to be learned from
Hmm.
the, you know, from the person that's asking this, that's posing this question. Because they could just easily just say, okay, well, you look like you'll do that, so I won't even ask you the question because it's
In
not
the
even
first
worth.
place. In the first
Right,
place, right?
right. It's no need for me to even try to peel back any layer to pry any deeper. I just think that that's what you on because that's what you look like. So I'll assume that, and I won't even try to get to know the person. I'll just leave it at that. Um, so yeah, I think it takes some good manners. I think it takes some good manners,
You
and
know.
and I believe that nowadays we see socially, people don't care about manners.
Mm-mm.
You know, people don't care about things like chewing with your mouth closed, um, holding the door for others. Um, your big thing, one of your pet peeves. You know, people just jumping in line.
I hate that.
You know, not even considering, like, not even to take the time to even ask you, are you in line? Is this the line?
Is this the line?
You know, um, yeah, and then that just moves us right on to courtesy as attentiveness. And we have speech or behavior that is a sign of good breeding.
That's interesting. I do say
So
breeding, right?
that does say breeding. So, you know, so this would lead me to believe why courtesy and things like manners and politeness and respectability and things, this would lead me to believe what all this uh with the destruction of the household,
Yeah.
of the family nucleus, okay? Because good breeding don't just mean like we could just have sex and make a baby,
Nah.
you know.
Both people got something. They got some smarts. They got something to offer. They got some intellect. They got some resources. They got some. They got some. They not just two people.
Right, it's not just two people getting together and just smashing, because that's all it
Yeah.
take, right? It just,
That's all it take.
you cute, I think you cute, you think I'm cute, okay, let's get together and knock boots. That's easy to have a baby. But when we talk about breeding, right, since they using this in attentiveness, now this isn't always done. A lot of times we get together and then we learn each other, which you still will always continue to learn each other. That should be a part of your goal in a relationship. how,
Yo.
how However, if we correlate this to animals,
That's what I was going with it, God.
okay, then look at the amount of consideration that is put into learning that bloodline of that particular animal when it comes to breeding before you even spend your money.
Yo, not and to take it a little bit further, right? It's not even about the act of sex at all. It's all about the offspring and getting the attributes that the breeder is looking to reproduce, right? Or produce, period, right? So it's we as humans we see the word breeding, we think sex, right? and we don't think about rearing those offspring and seeing which one should be allowed to move forward and make more babies and actually, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like that word is a very interesting.
I mean,
Human sees sex, but when you take it off sex and put it on to everything else that's alive, or all other animals, it's like, man, that's their actions, that's their activities, that's how intelligent they are, that's how high they jump, how fast they run,
right? How long they gonna live, if
how
they're
long
gonna
they're
have
gonna live,
any ailments,
all that.
things like that. It's a lot of science,
There's a lot of thoughts.
and it's a lot of your word there. Under
Yeah. Uh,
mannerliness,
yeah.
consideration.
Yeah.
It's a lot of consideration.
Yeah. It's not just sex.
It's not just sex at
It's
all.
not. It's not sex at all, actually, right? Because you can breed artificially through artificial insemination. You don't even need to have sex to breed. Not for nothing.
To reproduce, you can do artificial insemination, but it seems like to breed, you're gonna need to do a whole. They're gonna do a whole breeding analysis.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what
You
I'm
know, because they're
saying.
gonna want to know all them things. I think a lot of times when people do the artificial stuff, other than like in vitro, where you
Mhm.
are actually using your partner's um
All I'm saying,
embryos and sperm and stuff like.
all I'm saying is that is not two people physically come together doing a do, right?
No,
It
no,
might be you, it might be them, but it's not y'all. At
no. We off that.
yeah,
We on the research going into it. With like
yeah.
a young. I have a friend um who had twins,
Hmm.
and when she wanted to have her children, she didn't want to have her children. She couldn't find the right guy or whatever.
Hmm.
I guess people pick bad sometimes. I don't blame them.
Hmm.
But she went to a place where she could be what do you call it?
Like
Injected.
like a fertility.
A fertility clinic.
Yeah.
And one of her things was, I remember speaking with her a couple times, where she was talking about the different breeding, and I'm using this word because it's right here,
Yeah.
the backgrounds of the potential sperm donors,
Yeah. She get to choose.
right? So of course, when those men went in there and donated the semen,
Hmm.
they actually, there was things, their height, their diet, their this, their that, like there were all these statistics about them that were taken that are
Hmm.
similar to what we were correlating with the animals, their bloodline,
Yep.
you know. So that was something that she was able to do in that process, in that breeding process, you know. And there was a lot of consideration, there was a lot of attentiveness,
Yeah.
you
Nah.
know.
Shout out to her, right? Because that's a whole choice that she made and a whole process that she went through, and like I said, breeding is not, it's not sex, right? It's this.
Right,
It's not the sex.
it's not the sex part of it, right?
Like you said, it's the consideration, man. That's a lot.
Right, because they even saying here, as in courtesy, is speech or behavior that is
Yeah.
a sign of good breeding. It
Yeah.
is the after effect. It is the product of what you get.
Yeah.
It is yes, ma'am, yes, sir. It is going into the military and realizing that you have parents that never required you to say yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, and then you get into an environment that says uh, that tells you that you have to say yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, and to people younger than you. All right. So let's say you experience that when you grow up and your parents don't instill in you yes ma'am or yes sir. They don't make you have to say that. But then you go into the military and now you have, it's a custom and courtesy to say sir or ma'am, and a person could be younger than you, and it's just because of their rank. But then you realize that you have friends growing up that they always used to say yes sir, yes ma'am,
Like
no
it was
ma'am,
nothing.
no sir, right? And you realize like that they got that from their parents. So when they actually got out here, in the world, they already possessed that. They already had that tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it does get more attention than a yeah or or okay. It does get more consideration. It's considered more polite.
Get you more looks.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody might remember you more favorably in your time of need because of that. Yes, sir. No, ma'am.
Right.
Know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So we have courtesy as an attentiveness, speech or behavior that is a sign of good breeding, manners, thoughtfulness, gallantry, courteousness, eloquence. I always say eloquence. Uh, politeness, graciousness, hospitality, civility, gentility, uh, gracefulness, mannerliness, respect, respectability, consideration, refinement. Because that's where I say I got refined,
Mm-hmm.
like coming from a place where I wasn't required to say yes, ma'am, or no, sir, yes, sir, no, ma'am. But then getting exposed to that, I said, man, like, how am I running around here calling all these people sir and ma'am that's younger than me? And I don't even do that for the people that have made these sacrifices for me to be able to get here, So, other than law enforcement, if you dealing with them, for real. I mean, that was my lesson. That's how that's why now it's yes, sir, no, man. Anybody who look old, who think they could look older than me. I mean, hell, even if it's a young person that I'm going in the door or a customer service, I go to the gas station, get some gas. Thank you, sir. Please, sir. Yes, ma'am. I do it now, regardless. Difference, ceremony, ceremoniousness, gentleness, courtliness, gentlemanliness, chivalry, breeding, decorum,
The cordiality.
cordiality,
Cordiality.
formality, friendliness, urbanity.
I'm gonna need you to click on that one, God.
Yeah, we're gonna click on that.
I've been looking at that word. I'm like, what the hell is, what is it? Urbanity?
Urbanity or urbanity? Urbanity. Okay. Urbanity.
Something to do with the hood. Like, what is urban? Like, keep your head on a swivel. What you think urbanity means?
I don't know. We're gonna get to it. Humility, decency, politely. What is that? Politely?
Politis.
Politis. Okay.
It's like multiple being polite a lot, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Politely. Knighthood. Affability. Geniality.
Yeah.
Geniality. Suaveness.
Suave.
And then people just, I don't even think nobody wants to be suave anymore.
Nah.
That's just everybody trying to be slick.
Mm-hmm.
Ceremonialness, knightliness, decorousness, sociability, meekness, seemliness, chivalrousness, modesty. Yeah, help me out with that one.
Oh man, unconsciousness. No, what is that? I don't know. I don't know. God,
we're gonna have to look that one up. Gentilese, propriety, polished, shyness, okay, and felicitousness. Felicitousness.
Felicitousness.
Felicitousness.
I'm still stuck on the un word.
That's why this is. So let's see what this is. Urbanity. Let's see what the definition is of this. The quality or state of being urbane. Urbane acts or conduct.
What does urbane mean?
Urbane. Notably polite or polished in manner.
Huh.
Okay. Yeah. And they want to make urban be bad.
Facts. It's like,
urban areas. It's always referred to in urban areas. That's where the crime is.
It's all negative, but it's supposed to be polished.
It's supposed to be polite and polished.
Yeah.
The urban areas is not where the nigga's supposed to be at. But that's the way it's painted. So, cosmopolitan, sophistication, intellectualism, education.
Wow.
Learning, literacy. Yeah. Yeah, we all on that urbanity. Urbanity.
I'm gonna say urbanity. Yeah. I like urbanity.
Urbanity.
Focus on the urban.
Let me display some of my urbanity. Yes, indeed. What's another one right here that we had?
The unword. Untuxinous. Even bigger don't even make sense.
Well, they had that as smoothness and suaveness, so having, revealing, or marked by a smug, ingratiating, or false inertness or spirituality, fatty or oily, smooth and greasy in texture or appearance, plastic.
Unctuous. I needed that because that was hot.
Unctuous.
Yeah.
Okay. So unctuous.
Smooth, suave. I get it.
So if you're just joining us, y'all, we've been running through the definition of the word courtesy. And our definition for courtesy has been so far behavior marked by polished manners or respect for others. Courteous behavior, a courteous and respectful act or expression. 2A, a general allowance despite facts, indulgence. B, consideration, cooperation, and generosity in providing something such as a gift or a privilege. And then we have courtesy as an adjective, which was granted, provided, or performed as a courtesy or by way of courtesy. Yeah. And our thesaurus gave it to us as kindness, gesture, and attentiveness. We are smoking on the word courtesy. And our second question this evening is, what things would change if people we're socially obligated to practice courtesy. Myself and the guy Ali Dawu El at BK Soul Farm have actually just discussed certain things where where we see that courtesy isn't practiced. It isn't the norm for, just socially. People aren't always going out their way to open up doors. People always aren't going out their ways to be considerate of what other people may be experiencing or going through. So it is one of those things where you just really never know if what to expect when dealing with certain situations. You just never really know what to expect, what you're gonna get.
I like that question, God, and that's why I say, like, I thought this word was very appropriate for me and what I got going on right now, uh, because I'm taking a conscious effort to be a better driver, right? I want to lessen my road rage. I want to be more courteous on the road, but at the same time, um, I think if the question is, if we all practice courtesy, how would things be socially? If we practice consideration, and we was driving in the left lane and the speed limit is 70 and you're doing 60 and you ain't got nobody in front of you and you got mad cars behind you, like, the courteous thing to do is to move your ass over, not to sit there and see how long it's going to take before somebody start blowing your horns. But I'm working on that, right? I'm working on being mad at that, right? Because I'm saying, why am I in a rush in the first place? Am I doing the speed limit? Am I trying to go faster than the speed limit? Am I trying to put myself in danger, or do I want to arrive alive, right? Why am I letting this person's inconsiderate behavior throw me off the ledge, right? If we just all practice courtesy and we was forced to, we would have a lot less road rage. We'll have a lot less speeding tickets and stuff like that. Um, like, road rage is a big one, right? A lot of people get hurt because people drive terribly. They just do what they want to do. They don't look both ways when they drive, and they feel like they're the only vehicles on the road, right? So we was forced to practice a courtesy, and the courtesy would be to drive safely or drive responsibly, right? Move out the hell, all traffic, slow traffic, move to the right, and do that for real. Like, those things would be better if we had to open up the door for each other and had to um, get up out the seat when you see an elderly person or somebody that may appear to be disabled, right? Like, if those things were automatic, if we said yes sir, no ma'am to people that was older than us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or to even each other, right? Just out of whatever, right? Because if we strangers.
It will make a huge difference. And like you said, just being not placing it on just like, oh, only because I know you, I'm going to do this. I'm only going to conduct myself this way because I know you. Or I don't owe you anything. And that's where
That was a good one. I don't owe you anything. Yeah.
because that's what the culture is now. Like, with the young people, it's like, well, I don't owe you anything, so I don't have to be any type of way to you because I don't owe you anything. Well, it's like, okay, it's an elder person. It's an elder. Like, I don't owe them anything either. But me just like being considerate, me saying, okay, well, I'm fine. If I stand the next, 2 or 3 stops, it's not gonna hurt me. But what if, it's we on a public transportation? What if it's a hard stop or something? They could possibly get injured even worse. But just because, oh, I don't owe them nothing, you know, I'm tired too. My feet hurt too. Mine is hurt too. It's
I
just a
get it.
bad look socially.
It's a bad look. I get it. It's just a bad look though. Right. And it would just be better, right? Because if we was forced to do stuff like that, it wouldn't be a bad look. We wouldn't even, we would just,
What can change? What do you think can change? Because that is the question, God. That is the question. The question is, you know, what things would change if people were socially obligated to practice courtesy? There is no social obligation to practice courtesy.
no,
I think we can agree there, right?
not at all.
So, you know, so how do we get that? Let's break this down. How do we get a social? Is it even possible to get a social obligation to be courteous?
I like answering the first question better than this question.
I mean, but come on, I'm talking to the guy Ali Dawu there at BK Sofa with the hope, baby.
So
you know what I'm saying?
So I'm gonna say yes to both questions, right? So it is possible, right? And what could change, like, because what we're asking for, if everybody was to practice all that niceties, that literally is reparations, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, we all need repair. Like, we all need to recognize that all of us was on the plantation, right? The crackers too, right? Like, they was being brainwashed too to be evil, right? Or to be more evil, or to keep evil going, however you want to do it. But it's like everybody was drinking the same Kool-Aid. So like it's gonna take a form of reparations, a form of repair, to where it's like, yo, we need to just give each other passes, or like I say, like, I'm giving you the right to let me down. I'm giving you the right to, I'm gonna hug you first, and you have the option to take advantage of that, opportunity and do something negative. But I'm gonna treat you like my brother, till the day I die, every time I see you. And it's gonna be your choice to mess that up. Right. And if we all got that in our hearts, where I'm gonna be your brother, and if we both gonna be each other's brother, then there's no hurt. It's just love.
I mean, it shouldn't be. I get that part.
I mean, unless you go to the Cain and Abel thing, right?
And that's what I was gonna say, because people be using that Cain and Abel, like that. Like, ever since Cain and Abel, brothers have felt like, we don't need to do that. What you was just saying, we don't need to exemplify that.
Yeah, I think it's a terrible story, bro, because that's what it would indicate. Right, because the very first murder, and then depending on how you read it, like Buddy committed murder, and nothing too bad happened to him afterwards.
Nothing.
You know what I'm saying? It kind of reads like he got protected by God. Right.
It kind of does read that way.
I don't even know if he even said that the unalived made it to heaven.
Oh, they didn't even tell the story of what happened to him.
We know about what happened to the murderer. The other guy just died. We don't know if he made it to heaven.
We don't know if he went to heaven. We're supposed to just assume that.
Just supposed to assume that,
yeah,
right?
Man. It's the word of God. You better not question the word of God, okay?
Right? I always hated that story, right? Because it does make brothers feel like, like, am I my brother's keeper? Like, that was a hell of a question. Like, Nino Brown said it one way. They made it sound one way in the movie, but I think in the story, I think he was being questioned. He was like, man, he ain't in my pocket. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's good, man.
Absolutely. But I definitely think that if we did practice courtesy, the world will probably be a totally different place. A lot of the things that we see, the negative things, the things that are distasteful, that we disagree with, it seems, like it automatically, we see certain things, and it's like that shit lacks courtesy right there.
It just lacks courtesy. Just wouldn't happen.
It just lacks courtesy. All right. Immediately you identified, but it just no courtesy there, you
I
know.
think I think I think God, I think if we was a way of forcing, I think universal beatdowns would happen if somebody was to be, what is it?
Universal
What was
beatdowns.
what is it? What is it? Incourteous is the opposite, or uncourteous, or not
I
courteous.
don't know, we didn't even look at that because I'm just like American culture. you know, you either courteous or you just
Yeah,
American
no,
culture.
the facts, right? Like,
Yeah,
because if everybody just mobbed the person that was being a jerk instead of letting that behavior pass and letting the bully feel empowered and emboldened and laughing at their jokes because they might have told something that was funny, right? Even though it may have been wrong or inappropriate, but it was funny and you laughed. That laughter makes you a bully too, in my mind.
absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. If you know somebody doing something that's foul
Yeah,
and you sitting around and you laughing at it, then you with them.
you with them.
Yeah,
Yeah, you with them.
because because of somebody who's a friend is gonna let you know that's foul.
That's foul. Like, don't
You
do that.
know, they
Yeah,
might laugh at your joke because
that's what I'm saying. It
well,
might be
because you
funny.
funny.
Might
You
be
know what I'm
funny.
saying? Right. But your real somebody who really cares about you is gonna let you know like what you doing is wrong. So I'm laughing with you, you know, but I'm laughing with you and I'm telling you this so I don't end up having to laugh at your dumb ass, you know.
Hmm.
But what you're doing is wrong. So I always have looked at that with like people who sitting with people who doing the wrong stuff, like you just as fucked up as they is. You know, don't want me to look at you any different if you over there with them and you haven't said nothing to them, like, man, like what you doing is wrong. You know, I always look at that because that means you condoning that activity. So, I'm not gonna do that. I don't do that with people. Like I tell somebody they wrong in a heartbeat. People hate that about people dislike that about me too. Um,
Yeah, I don't like bullies. I don't like bully activity. I don't like stuff like that, bro.
yeah, people dislike that about me. They say, "Oh, wait, why you getting on this high and mighty complex or this,
Hmm.
or like you better than, you
Like,
know what I'm saying?"
nah, that's wrong, man. Like,
Yeah, I'm like, nah, I ain't high and mighty. I'm like, I fuck with you. You know, somebody else gonna encourage you to be doing some dumb shit because I guess because you think that shit cute, so I guess they think that shit cute too. But you know, I could say, all right, cool, but the other side of the coin, you always gonna get that with me. So if you keep doing that same thing, just possibly, you know, prepare for what you possibly gonna get in the end in the long run if you keep on approaching it that way, you know. But don't say somebody didn't. Oh, don't say somebody didn't warn you
hmm
or introduce to you another perspective that could be more helpful to you. I didn't add on to the negative part, like, oh, were you doing that? You should do this too. You know, like you should if you punching or you punching on them, oh nah, you should stab them.
Yeah,
And then after you stab them, then you should shoot them. No,
and
I'm
I'm
saying,
definitely not gonna go grab him and say, "Here he is, punch him some
yeah,
more." Nah.
I'm like, I'm looking at it like you do know it's consequences for you punching that person, right? So you better be prepared if they don't want to punch back and they want to stab or they want to shoot. And that's the difference, just using that
Yeah,
as an example, that's to me that's a courtesy. That's letting the person know like, hey, you got some options. I don't know what you're doing with them, but you need to be aware of them because everybody around is obviously encouraging you to crash out, but I don't think they're going to be there to scrape your ass up, to help you pick up the pieces.
yo, guys, something as simple as when you walk into a room and you greet the room, right? Like something as simple as that. Like, just takes the edge off of everything, right? Like it's no longer. I mean, it's still an uncertainty there, but it's ain't nobody looking at you like you dangerous necessarily, right? Because you greeted every goddamn body.
Yeah. I
You know what I'm
mean,
saying? Like, I mean, you might still be dangerous, but you know,
the ice is broken.
the ice is broken. You know what I mean? Like,
Because now people know you can approach that person.
correct.
You know, I get that too. Like, and then sometimes certain environments, people don't want to be greeted.
That's true too.
You know, I noticed that too because like when I went to my last HOA meeting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I was sitting there and you just heard so many, you heard all the people expressing their concerns and stuff like that. But then it was just like because the tones of the conversations, the way it played out, it changed
Mm.
it changed the energy in the room. Like at first it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna meet that person and have a talk with that person and say hi and do all that. And then by the time it got to the end, it was just like people was just ready to get up out of there. And I could tell that was the energy going in
Mm-hmm.
because you seen the smiles, you seen the warmness, you seen everybody there concerned, like, yeah, like looking at the turnout and everything, like, oh yeah, people getting together, they care about the community and stuff. Okay, care about the neighborhood. I say it's a neighborhood, it ain't quite
Mm-hmm.
on community yet.
Mm-hmm.
But then by towards the end, it was just like so much stuff had been thrown into the pot that it was just like, you know, some people didn't feel like they were heard enough. Some people didn't feel like they were, So, and there was courtesy going on, but then there still was people cutting people off and different things. So it was hints of courtesy and hints of not courtesy. And then it was just at the end of it, it was just like,
You know what's perfect about your story right there? Because one of the synonyms in us of courtesy was decorum and stuff like that. Because in that process, if everybody get their quote unquote time to speak and to be responded to, and the opened, resolved, and then closed. Now you seated, right? Then if it's 5 minutes, 3 minutes, however long the term of talk is, then you don't you then you lose the emotional. Oh man, I ain't get a chance to say all. Y'all cut me off, this and that, because everybody's on a time limit. But if it's when it's freestyle and is everybody think people don't understand how government governs or how that process or how tough that is to just run a HOA, because that's a little small government, right? Like that's y'all.
it definitely is.
You know what I'm saying? It's not easy for you guys to self-govern and to be governed by yourselves, right?
I think it is if the level of communication was there. But one of the things that really that was a learning thing for me, God, it was that the people who wrote the bylaws don't even live in the community.
I think that's so crazy.
So that to me was like, how in the heck do the people who don't even some people who don't even live around here? So what you're telling me is the people who built the houses get to tell you how to live in the house after they sell it to you? So that to me was was an eye opener and was just like, that's very strange. And me personally, I think they need to raise the HOA. I know it's a lot of people that's probably not with that, but I think that the price needs to go up. I think it's too cheap because and I think that cheapness of it
It's still affordable.
enables the HOA to not do as much as they could. So it's like, if it's cheap, don't be looking for us to do this and don't be looking for us to do that.
That's true though,
and
right?
and that's not their words.
Yeah.
you know, but that's what it appears to be because of the cheapness, you know.
Because they're Americans.
And it's like, you got to pay me, boy.
Because they are Americans.
Yeah. So it's definitely one of them things where I'm just like, you know, courtesy. It lacks a lot of courtesy.
Yeah.
You know, just looking at it as an example. But yeah, y'all. So we have been answering our questions. We are smoking on the word courtesy this evening. And we just got finished answering question number 2. What things would change or could change if people were socially obligated to practice courtesy? Let us know in the comment section what you think, you know, or if you think that, you know, where you live is if people are courteous, or some examples or experiences of courtesy you may have, or share some examples of where you thought the person wasn't courteous. You know, we like to hear all that. Drop it off in the comment section where we will respond to you. So right now, we're going to go ahead and get into the flavor bombs.
Hey.
So tonight we have Texas flood updates, heartfelt
Oh yeah.
Compassion, love, prayers go out to the families of all the flood victims and the rescue, the loss, all of the people that have been suffering through these natural disasters. We know that, you know, Mother Nature can be a bit of a bitch. And you know what I'm saying? There's really nothing we can do about it.
Every mom has been a mom.
So we definitely are going to take a little update to that. Then we have Pan-Africanist professor, psychologist, Dr. Umar Johnson, and Another Love TKO. He said some things in a little what do you call it, Instagram reel, where he was responding to some stuff he got going on with a young lady or whatever, y'all. It's one of them things where I wish that we were covering more things about Dr. Umar.
The Flavor Bombs, presented to you by DBCHEFTV.
Well, there it goes again. So I wish that we were actually talking about something in relation to his school, but it seems that he has more commentary about other things going on versus his school. So, you know, we'll get into that. We'll entertain that stuff too. And then our third flavor bomb is Welcome to the USA, Will Racism Still Exists? If you didn't know, then we're going to show you a clip tonight that if you argue and say, hey, it doesn't, you know, I think you don't live in the good old US of A.
Or in reality.
You know. So yeah, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and get into that. So let's bring up this first clip.
Well, here we are, 1 week after the deadly and catastrophic flooding in the Texas Hill Country. This evening, the death toll stands at 121 people. These are just some of the faces of the victims we know have Houston connections.
With more than 170 people still missing, that number is sadly only expected to rise. Tonight, our hearts are with everyone impacted.
Today, President Trump visited the flood-ravaged area. The president saying he's been to a lot of disasters, but what he saw today was some of the worst damage he's ever seen.
We've also learned the Coast Guard rescued 169 people from Camp Mystic. Senator Ted Cruz telling us tonight 17 White Crosses now stand in front of the cabin where the youngest girls stayed, representing the 17 people who lost their lives there. In all, 27 campers and counselors were killed at Camp Mystic 6 are still missing tonight. Governor Abbott also announcing today a free 24/7 emotional support hotline. You can call 883-812-2480 to talk with a trained counselor confidentially and at no cost. The state says this support is for survivors, families, even first responders as they begin to rebuild and heal.
Orko Manna joins us live now from Kerrville with more on the president's visit. Orko, the president also met with families of some of the victims.
Yeah, well, President Trump praised first responders here in Kerrville and in the area for their swift response. And also, we know that a lot of folks here have a lot of questions, and we brought those questions not just to President Trump, but to local officials as well. Take a listen.
The dozens and dozens of precious children taken from us with such, I looked at the pictures of almost all of them, and it's terrible. It's amazing the incredible spirit from those families. I don't know. I don't even know how they do it.
That's terrible.
You know, we just want to send out prayers and like the guy said, heartfelt condolences to all the families that have suffered and everything throughout this whole fiasco. We also want to shout out the Coast Guard. Shout out to the Coast Guard, baby. Simple Paradas, always ready. You know, shining, saving lives. That's what we do. That's what we do. I remember my days back in the day, you know, but we
shout out to them, man. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate their devotion to duty and their commitment to service, because without them, man,
but a lot more deaths.
A lot more. You know, the National Guard, all the first responders, everybody who was in there, all the local agencies. It's tough.
I'm hoping that people are courteous enough to only use that hotline if they are a survivor or the first responders, like they said, right? If they actually need counseling from the flooding, right? Like I would hope people wouldn't take advantage of the opportunity to come up somehow, like because part of me is asking, like, what kind of conversation you about to have with somebody, but in my mind, I feel like there's a path to some kind of resources somewhere. So I feel like scammers could come in and kind of like the way the protesters do, like they don't be involved, so they come in from other cities and other states talking about, yeah, I want to be down now. And
oh, you're right, guy. I would think, you know, just being optimistic with having a history of stuff like that, I would think that the fake scammer people who could go in and probably try to access some of the resources that are being given to victims and people in need in the area, I would think that they have that process vetted.
I hope so.
You know, nowadays with all the natural disasters that we've had, like Katrina being one, the floods that we had in Texas before this one, the flooding that we just had in North Carolina and Western Carolinas and stuff. So, I mean, you know, all of the mini hurricanes that we've had down in South Florida, you know, and all of them down the East Coast, different stuff, Sandys and Ivans and all these different things. You would think, but scammers always find a way to taint something that is designed, you know, to be helpful and purposeful. So, you know, fuck all them.
Yeah, because they suck.
But that hotline, I know that hotline is definitely you know, for persons, you know, everybody handles death differently, trauma differently. So so it's good to have somebody to talk to, because it's hard when everybody around you is devastated.
That was a lot of water, God. Like, that was a lot of water.
if everybody's a victim around you, it's like, damn, you don't have nobody to talk to be like, it's gonna be okay, because everybody around you is feeling hopeless. They done lost somebody. You know, like you would think in those situations, you know, that's a bond, that it's like some type of a non-negative trauma. Well, I mean, shit, it's a negative trauma bond, but it's negative.
Yeah, but it's a natural, because it's nature, right? So
yeah, you know, but it's
I mean,
like
it's
if you
negative.
lost a loved one, I lost a loved one, we
Yeah,
neighbors, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
then
yeah,
it's kind of like we'd be like, damn, and then we cry together, but we trying to rebuild together too, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Make the
But
community
it's,
stronger. Yeah,
you know, but it's still tough on, because you may be stronger than I made my loss, maybe like I can't even think about that. I'm looking at the house and all that. I'm just like, whoever I lost, I'm just like, I don't even give shit about this, you know. And you trying to keep it together on your side, you know, because you mainly didn't lose everybody, you know what I mean?
or might not have lost anybody,
Or might not have lost anybody,
and
just
just
some
lost stuff.
just lost stuff, right? And it's like, and I'm, you know, and I'm over here like, man, I'm about to take my life. I don't want to live no more. So you need resources like that,
Yeah,
because, you know, just to have people to talk to and stuff like that. So shout out to them for doing that, to the governor for making sure that they got some resources to talk to people, man. Because
yeah,
at the bare minimum, you know, I know National Guard is in there doing their thing with the aid and everything else, and getting people doing the best they can with supplies and stuff like that. It happens every time. You know, FEMA's in there. You know, people talk a lot of shit about them agencies, but I'm gonna tell you one thing: other countries don't have that.
at all. They have us.
Yeah,
They have U.S. aid is what they have.
U.S. aid, right?
They have
Right.
us.
They don't have people that can deploy from other states and go put their uniform on, or go report to their, you know, facility or whatever, and then deploy so they can go after an assessment to go and, you know, and deliver aid and resources and help to get things, you know, to clean up efforts and stuff like that. So people talk down on it, but we definitely have a lot more resources and a lot more love that goes out. Now, can we stop sending some of that aid over there to some of them other places?
Show some courtesy to us.
Yeah, show some more courtesy, you know, because if we just sent 50 billion to so and so, like we could have used that 50 billion in Texas. I'm just saying. Yeah. So,
you know, and just on that real quick, right? Because they had a lot of non-black faces going across that screen of all the people that lives that they lost, right? And they can't even get resources, right? So it's like it's not a color thing. It's just like, how come we send so many of our resources that we need right here locally at home for us, right? No matter what complexion we are, like we are all still us. Sending it someplace else, it's kind of crazy.
That is kind of crazy. You know, Trump, if you hear it, man, hey, that's part of making America great, right? Trim some of that fat, you know, and keep it right here at the crib.
Let U.S. aid us.
Let the U.S. aid the U.S.
All right, like especially like there's your FEMA right there, right? Like, you know, let them add on to FEMA and help out.
Yeah, hell yeah, you know, because they have to get a budget passed every year too, which I think is kind of like, I don't know why their budget isn't kind of like, I don't know, I don't work in the budget office of FEMA, but every government agency gets a budget, you know, and it has some type of cap, and it has some type of continued resolution or something like that going on with it. Like everything is allocated. there isn't no. But some people say the CIA is just, but you know, they don't particularly respond to, their resources aren't delegated to natural disasters.
Correct. So while everything is allocated, how much they get is every agency's or organization's responsibility to fight for that, right? So if FEMA don't, so if they under budget or don't ask for the world to keep their budget high to make sure that they can get whatever they need when they need it, and if they only ask for, you know, just basic, you know, O&M repair stuff just to keep the lights on because we didn't use so much stuff last time. The way our system worked, they'll lose money.
Yeah, use it or lose it.
You know what I'm saying?
It's horrible. It's horrible that the government system is like that.
And then you get things like Doge talking about we need, you know, to cut back and save money and see what we waste the money at. It's like, damn, like they kind of not really waste the money, but they can't not ask for it at the same time because they're gonna need it. And
yeah, like how many fucking office chairs do you need per year?
You know,
didn't we just get new office chairs in January? Yeah, now it's June. Spin down. We gotta get new office chairs. Like, god damn, dog.
And that's the protocol, right? Because if you don't, and well, these chairs still work.
You don't need the money. You don't need the increase because you're not even spending what we gave you last time.
You actually need a decrease because you didn't spend it all, right? So it's a tricky system that we live in.
It's sad. Yeah, I think it's sad.
Yeah,
I think it's very sad. So let's go ahead and get into Dr. Umar.
Dr. Umar.
So before we get into this, Dr. Umar was having some type of situation with a young lady that he said he met or whatever, and they had a relationship, some type of relationship. And then he, I guess, procured her services to take care as a home health aide, and I guess it just went left from there. Like things begin to decline after that. So this is him, expressing what happened or explaining what happened, giving his, his account of the relationship.
Stone, Lene Stacks, Throat Goat, Hood Rat, Jump Off, Fishy Coochie, the queen of Fishy Coochie.
Now let me ask you something, guy. Is this righteous?
Nah, bro. Like, I'm mad at Throat Goat. I'm mad at all the negatives. Like, why would you be with somebody that got a fishy coochie? Right? Like, you would still hit it according to that 3 times. And then talk. I ain't with that.
Yeah, we pulled this clip. We pulled this clip right here from the Hit Factory Radio 954. Shout out to Fort Lickerdale, and they said, Throat Goat drama. Dr. Umar Johnson said the woman he linked with 3 times in the hotel is now smearing his name and coming for his mama after he turned down a relationship.
I believe she may have taken information regarding the bank account of FDMG and my personal. I discussed this with the attorneys. The attorneys told me that it would be in my advantage if Siobhan Stone, Throat Goat, or Pastor Bussy tries to.
What do you say?
Man, I don't even want. I'm just like, let's hear him out. Let's hear him out. Let's just hear him out.
Access my personal account or the school's account because that is a federal crime. I saw her privately 3 times inside of the same Philadelphia hotel after hours for no more been 2 or 3 hours. This young lady told me that she would not mind coming to care for my mother. I assured her that I would pay her, and I did pay her. And this is going to be important when I bring up the attorney in a minute, because I consulted with an attorney in Kansas City who told me that if I can prove that I paid her to care for my mother, then she can be charged with HIPAA violations for discussing my mother's personal, sensitive medical information without permission. 3 throat goat sessions turned into a 2.5-year relationship with marriage, love, masturbation. Talking about I ate out your fish tank. You have an aquarium down there. She has an aquarium down there with every creature in the ocean. She got squid.
All right, so this is what we ain't gonna do. We're gonna let that rock right there. All right. So I heard enough, because what we're not gonna do is we're not gonna let him sit up here and act like he ain't make all them choices.
like all them choices, guys.
Like all them choices. Like she took the information. No, she didn't.
How she get the information?
You was smashing. You let her have access. You brought her to the house.
Yo, after 3 times she got the bank account information. She got the FDMG account information after 3 times.
No, God, it was 3 accounts, 3 2-hour sessions. All right.
Okay.
It was 3 2-hour sessions. All right. 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 of them.
Okay.
Right. And then you took her home. Okay. And then you was talking about marrying her. And then you was talking about, and so now she got the fish box. Now it's all that.
I don't understand how she had a fish box, and then she gonna be the person that's gonna take care of my moms. Like this my thing. Like my problem with Dr. Umar has always been the fact that he's a psychologist, the license and all that stuff, right? And don't practice better behavior for us to emulate, right? He has too many of these. To me, I think like this whole thing about somebody trying to smear his name or whatever. I think it should have only been her talking, right? And her talking to the toxic K's and stuff like that, and him just ignoring it. And if it wasn't true, right? Like it shouldn't have. I don't like all this throat go, bad mouth of her, and because it only just indicates that you are a terrible decision maker, right?
Terrible,
Like for you to be a psychologist, right? Licensed clinical psychologist, and for you to also want to start a school for boys, right? To teach them to be men. I'm like, and the example of that man is this man who is making bad decisions in real time and not hiding them from the public, right? Like, I just think that I just think that's corny, right? I think that is not righteous at all, right? It's righteous would have been, like I said, just her telling her story or whatever, and
or him saying, you know what? I let my dick make a dummy out of me.
yeah.
Young men, this is not what you should be doing. Okay. I thought I was having a good time. I was having my way.
Oh, you mean tell the truth, be honorable, demonstrate integrity?
And this is why I only give him credit for the school shit if he ever get it off. Like
See,
as far as
that's what my problem comes in with the school stuff, because I personally think that teachers should be divinely inspired.
Divinely inspired. Okay.
Right. I think that you should want to, because like Whitney Houston say, the children are the future, right? And that's never not gonna be the truth, right? So if you are taking a active hand to stagnate the pot or stagnate progress or growth or stunt it or reshape it under your guise of what manhood is or should be, and you're the only one getting to decide what that is. I don't know, like what culture is he
Sounds
following?
like a dictatorship, right?
What culture is he following, right? Like I just
Yeah.
I don't like that, right? Just to be a psychologist and to come out to the public trying to disgrace this person, only it only makes you look bad. Like it
It
just
only make you look bad, and it make you look like a cold sucker because you
three
took her
times,
home
three
three
times.
times. You went back 3 times. You liked something, and you
Yeah,
took and then you took her home to your mama.
yeah. He thought
Okay?
that fish. He thought that aquarium was exotic at first.
You see what I'm saying? So to act like you ain't never dive in it, she went to the crib and did all that. If you ain't do that, so it's like, come on, family. Like don't get up here on TV now, online now, and then make yourself look even more stupid. If 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and blah. And I even heard some shit online. I'm just like, man, some of these people think that that's cool for him to get up there and talk about her like that,
Because it's funny.
and not looking at it as like, where's his level of integrity at? Where's his level of accountability at? Like, as a man,
Discernment, man. Yo, God, like he had this chick around his mom's who needs help.
yeah. And she didn't. I heard a snippet of the interview. I didn't watch the whole thing on the channel that they did it, but she did not say anything other than his mother failed. So she didn't say
She got bad knees.
yeah, she didn't say she had a knee surgery or she had a hip replacement, or when you talk about HIPAA, you know what I'm saying? Or like, yeah, like she didn't say she has, I don't know, name something, anything. She didn't say she got, you know what I'm saying? She didn't say she got cancer, or they didn't disclose any medical information, She just said that the woman failed. So that's not a HIPAA violation. That's just describing your day. And that's how stupid he's saying.
Correct.
No,
he sounds stupid because he's talking to his attorney about it. Right. So I'm like, so is that like the FDMG money is going to the attorney for this? Right. So we're not going to get the second floor of the building. Like we're not going to open. Like, how do we actually get to?
he can't install the AC because he got to make sure he don't get sued for what he doing with his little head. His little head distracting him so much 3 times for 2 hours, 3 hours. And then I took her home to my mama, and then we was marriage and masturbation, and yeah, come on.
Like, how do we get
Corny
all the way?
shit.
How do we get all the way to there? Like, I'm like, man, that's kind of like the people that bring their new partners, or not even their new partners, people that they're entertaining for a moment around their children.
More and more,
right? Like that is so unsafe because like we really don't know people, and these little ones need our protection at all times, right? Until they are big enough to protect themselves. And when it comes to she went to look after his moms, who I don't know the situation with his moms, but she needed his assistance, right? She needed a nurse or whatever. You don't take somebody you smashing to go do that.
You don't take somebody that you think that low of.
No, man.
If you saying I'm only hooking up with you in the hotel so you could suck me off.
No,
okay.
Man.
And now I haven't had, like, come on, dog. Like, who you think you fooling, dog? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, you don't do
like,
that.
who you think you fooling, man? Like Dr. Umar's a fucking clown. You know what I'm saying? Like for real.
That shit is cool.
Like he lame as fuck. For real. Like, and I knew he was a Bama, but I didn't know he was as big of a Bama as he is now though. Like, so I'm not fucking with you, Dr. Umar. I still wanted my man to have a school because I like the idea of, but now the way you put it, God, it's just like, you know what? Like, damn, do we want the examples that you set, to just be like, okay, well, just because I'm doing this, doesn't mean that you have to do it. And I get that.
I get it.
But it's just like, damn, like, don't you put any thought into, like, why do you not care about that? Why does he think that it's okay to say, I want to have this school for boys and I want to be this example and this role model and provide this place of higher learning and higher thinking and higher accountability and higher responsibility and a level of integrity but then your actions, the shit that you doing out here trying to get to that, is looking so suspect, looking so questionable.
Yeah. And again, right? Like
on a man level, based on what we already got, it's like you competing with Diddy.
Right. And it's not necessary. Like, yeah. All right, God. I like the idea of a school. Right. I like that. I don't like the inability to control himself emotionally, because that is not showing me that I need to send my kid to that school. I don't need to send my grandson to that school. He need to stay right here with me.
Right. Yeah, Dr. Umar, man, you officially whack in my book now, bro. Like,
throat goat, God, like,
you know what I'm saying? Then talking about her,
yeah.
Like if anything,
he said her name.
He said her name. Well, it's public, it's out there now anyway. But that's defamation. Like you talking about how she don't have a problem down there.
Nah, that's HIPAA.
You see? So the same thing that he's saying, that he's trying to rattle off about his mom, trying to scare her or trying to do whatever the fuck he's doing, that it's not helping. You know what I'm saying? How do he know that she don't have a condition, that she don't have something that she dealing with, that he was enjoying before? If it's even true. Because it's like some child shit, some tit for tat. Oh, well, I'm gonna say you got a funky box and blah blah blah. Since she didn't say that. To my knowledge, she didn't say anything about this man on her thing, with her rant. She was talking about her compensation, her lack of compensation and consideration, and how he was treating her. But she ain't say, oh, he got a little thing. He 2 minutes, man. He ain't going on her. She ain't going on him like that. So that just show you like his pride hurt. And he a sucker. So.
And back in the United States, a video capturing a confrontation by an American man has gone viral, sparking widespread outrage on social media. The clip shows a white American aggressively confronting a man of Indian origin in a parking lot, demanding to know why he is in his country and insisting that Indians are flooding white nations. Now, despite the unprovoked attack, the victim remains calm and dignified, choosing not to escalate the situation. The video has, in fact, triggered a wave of condemnation online, with users highlighting a surge in xenophobia. More on this troubling incident in our next report.
A disturbing video is doing rounds on social media, one that exposes the ugly face of racism in modern-day America. Shared by the X account Abrahamic Lincoln, the video shows an Indian origin man being randomly confronted by a white American who launches into a wild xenophobic rant, all while filming himself.
Why are you in my country? Why are you here? Yeah, why are you in America? I don't like you guys here. There's too many of you guys here.
Now the Indian man, caught off guard, doesn't flinch. Instead, he simply responds with a calm, "Oh, is it?" and walks away with a composed, "All right." The incident appears to have taken place in a parking lot. No provocation, no argument, just pure racism on display. But the internet was not silent. The video.
That's it. That's all we giving to that right there.
Word.
So
Man, I ain't gonna. So
welcome. This is America.
This is America.
This is America.
This is America. You know what I'm saying? Like,
welcome, my friend. That's all I got to say is welcome, my friend. You know,
I was mad more with the way they described the two gentlemen, right? Like they was like, my man was Indian origin, and the other dude was a white American. I'm like, I don't know, like is his origin America? It's not how it's not Germany or some shit like that, or like where's people from? Like we just assuming because he said my country.
Now I didn't let the rest of it play, but in the rest of it, there was somebody who responded that said all white people are not native to America. All white people are intended in America are in fact immigrants themselves. So, that was somebody who was responding back to that, So that was a comment that was made.
Yeah, I mean, if history class was true, right? The whole
the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
They said 3 of them joints.
Yeah.
Not 1, not 2, but 3 for 2 whole hours. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm just saying, like, don't get mad at me for the history. You know what I'm saying? I mean, shit, I gotta deal with my own. Remember, I got given everything. Right?
I was given everything.
Like I ain't worked for shit. Like if we hadn't freed you, then you wouldn't even be able to do this that you're doing right now today.
Don't you remember?
Right? That's the story.
You remember? That's the story.
So I find it very very disgraceful that we still have to deal with these type of things going on in American culture, man, in society. Like it's fucked up. But like I said, welcome to America, my friend. I always have carried the mindset that like I never had a discuss with other blacks coming from other origins. My Latin black people, the Haitians, Caribbean Islanders, Brazilians, Indians, and any Africans too, any Africans from the continent that come over here. I never have had a problem with them having an attitude of superiority when they first get here. Cause I'm just like, your ass ain't been in the South yet or got pulled over.
But as soon as you do. Yo, Nori just said the other day, he just learned racism existed in America for real.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't care what language you speak or think you don't speak. Okay, that shit might work when you're around all your friends and your family, But guess what? Get pulled over. Your black ass gonna be a nigga that day. Okay. And that's just the way it is in America. So, you could do that shit with me, You know, you can try to segregate yourself against me, like, oh no, I'm not black, I'm this. You know what I'm saying? Oh, so you know another language.
Cool.
All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? But catch your ass rolling down through one of the Mason-Dixon lines or shit anywhere now, Ohio, any fucking where.
Everywhere now.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
For real.
like,
You let your ass get caught somewhere, and guess what? And all you got is that skin, and the motherfucker got time for your ass that day. Guess what's gonna happen?
don't let ICE be close by.
Well, I ain't worried about ICE. I got veteran on my license.
yeah, we ain't worried about that.
Yeah, that's not it. Yeah, we not. You know, I don't have no problem with ICE, baby. I might even know somebody that work over there. Trust me.
Yeah.
You've just been Flavor Bomb, and now back to our show.
Yep. So tonight, y'all, we have been smoking on the word courtesy. And we are at our third question of the evening. Is courtesy a privilege or a right? And what role does it play in conflict resolution? Let us know in the comment section what you think. Is courtesy a privilege or a right? And what role does it play in conflict resolution, if any? The guy, Ali, at Dawu L, at BK Soul Farm.
You know, God, basing it off the previous question, right, of being obligated, I'm gonna say that it's not a right, right? Because if it was I feel like if it was a right, I don't know, right? Like, it's tricky.
No, it's not tricky, because if it was a right, it might have been voted into legislation somewhere, right?
Yeah, like we all agreed on that joint, right? Like,
and Congress, they would just be like, you know what? We need to be nicer. We need to be more kind to each other.
Yeah, right.
Let's make a bill. We're gonna just start locking people up for bullshit.
for being uncourteous or whatever.
Uncourteous, you know, for being rude.
For being rude, right?
You know, okay, you're gonna be rude. All right. And then we're gonna look at all the facts though. Did you warrant the rudeness? Were you know, did you throw the rock first and then try to act like you ain't throw the rock? You know,
because like you would really need all that though, right? Like you know, going back to the Bible real quick, like these judges are supposed to be emulating King Solomon and whatnot, right? And isn't there a story where two moms was fighting over a dead baby, and he was like, yo, if both of y'all saying y'all the mom and y'all both want the kid, cut the kid down the middle, right? And the real mom was like, nah, don't do that. I'd rather her had a baby and my child live. And the fake mom was like, yeah, do that shit, son. Like, I'd rather have half a baby than no baby. And it's like, see, clearly.
You know,
you evil.
Like, yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm starting to think you're a cannibal, you know?
Because you would rather have half the baby than right? Like,
yeah, like
see the baby raised well.
Maybe ain't even gonna be able to grow up, get halved.
Right.
You know,
right? And like a privilege, like I think I don't know, man, because I don't know if it's either one. Right? Like maybe I'm not understanding privilege. Right? Because it's because if it was privilege, then that would be like a certain caste system or a certain if you get to this stage or this level, it requires a certain level of courtesy or it requires you to be courteous.
Well, privilege is defined as a right or immunity granted as a particular benefit, advantage, or favor. Prerogative. You know, a verb to grant a privilege to accord a higher value or superior position to.
I'm stumped on this question, God. I don't know.
I mean, I say it's a privilege, you know. because you showing favor. And I think favor was one of the words that was tied to courtesy.
Yeah.
So I think it's a privilege. You know, I agree with you. Yeah, of course, I agree with you on it not being a right.
Yeah.
If it was a right, then it would be a social norm. Or I don't fucking know, because some of that shit ain't social norms, that is rights.
But there'll be it will be applicable by the law, right? It'll be actionable by the law if somebody was to snitch on you or something like that, right?
Maybe, because like, okay, so like and this is good. It's a right to vote, but if you don't, ain't nobody coming to look for you to lock you up.
No, but whatever you voted on or don't vote on, that's what they can come and lock you up if you violate that thing, is what I'm saying, right? Like, so yeah, like nobody cares if you actually vote or not, but whatever you're actually voting on, everybody will be subject to that.
But everybody is subject to it, because it's either passed or it isn't.
Correct.
Based on the amount of votes.
Correct.
So yeah, but there's no penalty for not voting, and you have the right to. So, you know, if you had the right to be courteous,
yeah,
and it was a law, people have the right to be courteous. Okay, but then you still have people who are breaking the law. Like, people break the law every day. So it's like, okay, well, would that even provide more of a positive social fabric or social reinforcement?
I think it'd be more defiance. People trying to not look like a square, right? To look more stand out and be, look at me, I'm a thug.
Oh shit, they got plenty of help with that with the music. Yeah, so I think it's a privilege. I think it's a privilege.
I can go with that.
Just because I have to actually, I have to do it. I have to extend that favor, and I have to put the thought into it, like that word, consideration.
Yeah.
Like, I have to do that. I have to put that effort into it in order for it to happen. So I'm extending a privilege because I don't offer that to everybody else. And I would guess that, not even guess, I would really say that, because I think that highly of myself. I say it's a privilege for certain shit about me. So me being courteous, my courtesy is a privilege to because that's not for me. That's what I give to others.
Because I might be in a bad mood, but I'm not going to show you that. Something terrible might have happened to me, but I'm not going to give you that. I'm going to give you my courtesies, right? Because that's what you deserve in this moment, until you do some rude stuff, and now I can unload on you.
Right. And then there's the balance too. Like, like when you realize it's not this person's fault.
Correct.
Like, I'm going through some shit about something else.
Correct.
But I still have to go and interact with this person, and I know damn well this person deserves the best of me.
Correct.
So I'm trying to use this to take my mind off the dumb shit. And then we asked what role does it play in conflict resolution? What role does courtesy play in conflict resolution? And I think when you were making the point earlier about the consideration, like, because when we was talking about last time, when I said that, I'll listen when you're trying to resolve a conflict, both people have to be willing to listen. So that's a courtesy right there.
Yeah.
To just be like, you know what? Let me just listen to what you're saying first.
Be willing to listen. Hell yeah. Like
Be willing to listen.
Open to listen, and not just listening to say I listen, but really listen to receive a message, right? And not just to check a box.
Right. Not to be like, are you done? Are you finished?
Yeah. That's terrible. Yeah.
You know, but actually be like, okay, I'm receiving that. Let me even ask you some questions so I can understand it better, because I don't want to misinterpret what you're saying. And that's what we're trying to get the resolve.
Correct.
So that's what we're trying to get the conflict resolved.
That'll seriously help conflict resolution if courtesy was forced or all that stuff, right? If it was, yeah, it'd be better.
Well, tonight, y'all, we have been smoking on the word courtesy. And we had our first question. What do you think of when you hear the word courtesy? We exchanged some insights about that. Let us know in the comment section. Our second question was, what things would change? Or what things do you think would change if people were socially obligated to practice courtesy? Let us know what you think in the comment section. We exchanged some insights about that too as well. And our third question this evening was, is courtesy a privilege or a right, and what role does it play in conflict resolution? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Like I say, we will always respond to your comments. There is no such thing as a right or wrong answer. And like we always say, we are not the gurus. So if you like something, pick it up, have a smoke. If you don't, leave it in the ashtray for somebody else to come through and get it. We are two big nerds smoking on words, trying to figure out this thing ourselves, because we are products of the American public school system. like the lot of us. You know, so courtesy got missed. You know, other than what we got told, how other than that home training, you know, when you get out in the world, it gets cold, because, you know, people are definitely not courteous, you know, don't exemplify courtesy. And then so many other social things, you know, mindsets. You got to be tough. You got to be this. You got to be that. You know, all this other stuff that
any vulnerability is a weakness.
Yeah, you know, so it'll definitely dictate our actions and sometimes determine thought processes. It's, you know, so we really got to be paying attention and be purposeful with our intentions. So the God Ali Dawu El BK Soul Farm, we have our final question of the evening. Is the word courtesy bad, good, or misunderstood?
Off the bat, the word itself is 100% good. Right? It's definitely good. You know, I can't even think of how it could be misunderstood unless it was purposefully done so. Somebody was being manipulative, or petty or something like that, right? But being courteous and it's just good. Like everything about the word was good. It's the promotes good character. It promotes good relationships. It promotes good interactions, right? And all those goods results in a good life, or it should. Well, yeah, nah, if everything is good, then good gotta be the result of more good, of good, right? So, yeah, I like the word, bro. Like it's all the way. It's exactly what I thought it was and should be, right? I was pleasantly pleased. Because I was, thinking I go a little far sometime in my thought process, and it's good that consideration was such a big, huge part of the word, and of the fix, right? And you know how we say nothing in life is fair. Well, one of the things I thought about as you was closing a little while ago was we would probably the world would probably be fair if we was more courteous, right? If courtesy was obligatory and it was practiced right, we would be fair.
A social norm.
Yeah, social norm, right? Like
Yeah.
fairness would just be the result of that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you wanted it to be that or not, there would just be the result.
You wouldn't have no choice. You would. It's expected.
And it would just be more than that. It would be like the rule. It would be like, you know. So yeah, that's what I got, man. It's definitely a good word. And the only way we can get the fairness if we practice some courtesy, some more courtesy. You know.
Yeah. But definitely, I agree with the word being good. I'm also going to give the take on is misunderstood, like we do with most of these words. Even though sometimes we don't always lend the misunderstood to it, we understand that it is because it isn't practiced. And I'll just keep that. I'll just keep it at that simple. It isn't practiced. It isn't preached. It isn't reiterated enough. It isn't cultivated enough. Encouraged enough. And this is one of the reasons why we see things like stepping on your shoe leading to murder. People having small disputes about things that could be resolved simply just through communication, leading to death or leading to, elevated confrontations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because there's a lack of courtesy. There's a misunderstanding of what courtesy is. We live in a culture now where young people have no respect for elders at all. And I'm not saying all of the young people.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the majority of the young people. Where we weren't brought up like that. It wasn't anybody could get it unless you was in the street and you was dealing with street people.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't where I'm from, I have to wear on my sleeve and prove to you that I'm this and I'm that. The worst parts of the stereotype of where I'm from. You could meet somebody and you could have an experience and interact with them, and it was, the respect was given and it was reciprocal.
Mm-hmm.
So now where it is there's a whole generation of young people who, and older people too, like I ain't just, just harping on the young people, but like I was telling my sister one time, it's a lot of that millennial generation. For some reason, it's an age range where it's just like, I don't care if you 75 or 17, and that person could be 34 or 27, or, in that age range. And it's just like, they willing to go on the 17-year-old and they willing to go on the 75-year-old.
Don't matter.
And it's just like, damn, like, where is the level of respect to just say, like, to even just self-reflect and be like, damn, am I being courteous? Am I considering what the 17-year-old's issue is or the 75-year-old's issue is? Or am I just so stuck on me being right and me being this and me being that? Am I just that stuck in selfishness? Like, selfishness is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm where with the misunderstood of it, even though it is a beautifully brilliant, good word. If we would practice it, if it was, something that was encouraged more for people to to exemplify. So hopefully we can get to that, and things will be all right. Things will get better. So we want to wish everybody a peaceful, positive, and productive start to their week. I want to thank everybody for pulling up once again. Make sure to like and share this video. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, so when we go live, you never miss an episode of Cigar Sundays Live. I am Chef Earl Pearl at DBCHEFTV, always with the God, Ali Dawood L at BK Soul Farm. Links are in the description, y'all. And we are the Cigarden Panel. We will see y'all next Sunday right here on Cigar Sundays Live. Peace, God.
Peace, God.
This whole publication is all about going from nowhere to somewhere, right? Being able to stand on something so that you can travel in peace, right? So bksoulfarm.com, 1016 160 self-sustainability. Jump on a list and get yourself together, right? Because it is irresponsible to not even know what responsibility means. So get yourself together, food, clothing, and shelter, protection of that, support your interests, and live.
Exchange insights Sundays at 8 p.m. East Coast time with the Cigarden Panel. Smoking on words like Two Big Nerd. Hosted by DBCHEFTV and BK Soul Farm at Cigar Sundays on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so when they go live, you never miss an episode of Cigar Sundays Live. Sign up for the newsletter and shop merch and clothing at www.dbcheftv.com.